Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I thought I was a Trancer once. Turns out I was just really bored.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Trancers, which came out in 1984. Written by Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo, and directed by Charles Band. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Jack Death, played by Tim Thomerson. Jack Death is a trooper from the future who's been sent back in time to stop Whistler, an evil cultist who plans on wiping out the ancestors of certain people in the future. Jack's in a race against time to save his future and his past.
Coffee.
The real stuff? That's gonna cost you.
I deserve it. Find me some milk. I don't want any of that soy crap.
So when this film originally released, it was Empire Pictures that originally released this film, but now Full Moon Productions or Full Moon Features now owns this film, and Charles Band continued to make sequels to this film under the Full Moon sort of logo. And this film didn't do particularly well when it first released. I believe it released in the UK and other areas before it eventually, had a theatrical run in America. But it didn't do very well at all. And it was only really on VHS rentals did this film sort of get a cult following.
I've never heard of this one before. I may had seen a poster, maybe. I don't really remember. But when we were talking about films and Trancers came up, I got madly excited. I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck this is. I need to just see this. And then I hit Wikipedia like I normally do, and I'm like, there's a series? There's 6 movies? Oh my god, after my Blood Fist kind of addiction, that was 8 movies. I kind of got a bit lost there. And now I've got Trancers with Jack Death. Tim Thomerson, like I looked at this film, I'm like, I have no idea anybody who's going to be in this movie. This is the dad from Near Dark.
Yes.
This is the warlord from Cherry 2000.
Right.
I miss Cherry 2000. And then I realised that Helen Hunt is in this movie.
Yep, future Oscar-winning actress.
Yeah.
Back here in a B movie about time-traveling super cops and zombie alien creatures.
Yeah, I loved her in Twister. Mad About You, and I'm only finding out now that she's in this, I want to say B movie, but it's more of a CD movie.
Well, apparently she was friends with the director, and she was actually suggested for the role by Tim Thomerson, who suggested, because they worked together on a TV project.
She's a fabulous actress. I mean, she probably is one of the focal points for this movie, but Tim Thomerson as Jack Death, this movie starts with that film noir kind of narration, he's a burnt out cop on the end of his tether.
He talks about the Trancers and what his job is, but the thing is, it straight away it feels like it's a spoof, or it does today.
Oh yeah,
because at the very end of his monologue, and he says, "And it's July 1st, and I'm tired.
I'm like
real tired."
It's July now, and I'm tired. Real tired.
I'm like, oh, he's really tired.
He's really tired. This guy's life. But Tim Thomerson, Jack Death, I'm getting it. The coat, the scar on the face, and he walks into this cafe, and you've got this overweight customer. And
it's like a
lady.
50s diner, but it's sci-fi future setting.
I like that, the outside shot. I think that's really well done to go, there's a whole city out there that you're not going to see.
I just want to say the guy that worked on the cars in this to soup them up is the same guy that designed the spinners and the flying cars in Blade Runner.
Oh.
So, I mean, you're going to see the similarities in this film to, say, Blade Runner and the Terminator, and the fact that the guy did the spinners.
They say similarities, but I'm like, one's over here, one's way gone, because he walks into the cafe and he sits down and he orders a coffee, and he questions the customer and kind of shines this thing on his arm.
He pulls his badge. He's like, I'm hunting, Trancers.
I'm hunting Trancers, yeah, and these Trancers are a really bad thing in the future. And then they realize that the lady behind the counter she's a Trancer. Now, what establishes somebody as a Trancer? They go from normal into weird zombie mode.
Look out! Hey, you stupid old lady! She's a Trancer! Goddammit, help me!
And they get super strong. Maybe I gotta admit, this fight sequence, I was in. I was like, yes, let's go, movie. I'm fucking... Because I firmly said to myself before hitting this film, like, I know it's going to be not great. Sure. If I want to watch a sci-fi movie, I'll watch Blade Runner or I'll watch Terminator. But something says to me, Iain, you gotta watch Trancers to know why Terminator and Blade Runner are as good as they fucking are. And this fight,
because does Blade Runner have a kitchen fight like this one where our hero gets covered in boiling hot water?
No, but it has the fight sequence with Daryl Hannah.
It's true.
Which is just like 10 times better. But yeah, when he gets splashed in that boiling water, I was like, oh!
Well, his gun or his laser ends up getting dropped in the boiling water at first. He goes to pick it up and burns himself.
Yeah, because it's so hot. And that's it. Like, you can tell that there's like, the director's got the camera and the actors are there and he's like, fight.
Right.
And just act, we'll go with it. All the way up to the point where Jack manages to overpower and kill the lady. And she just kind of melts, vaporizes. Yeah. Something about their body destroys the evidence. And so he comes outside and comes across Art LaFleur, playing McNulty. Oh man, I love Art LaFleur.
He's great.
He
usually has like minor roles in so many films. I think one of the last times we saw him was in The Blob.
Yes, well, actually, every Christmas I see him in the Santa Claus. He's the Tooth Fairy.
Yes.
But I never realized how good of an actor he is. He doesn't really change much of what he does. He's just Art LaFleur playing this character, but he's like dressing down Jack. Oh, you can't be doing what you're doing, man. You're a loose cannon. You're a loose cannon. We need you back at the office. And Jack's like, no, I'm done, and just chucks his badge out the window
and drives off.
And in this next sequence, I thought was just fucking brilliant because it's a matte painting of an apocalyptic city background on a beach with a fence telling you that it's like radioactive. And here comes Jack walking out of the sea with it's Waterworld. Like he's fucking Kevin Costner. He's diving in the water to find shit. And there's McNulty with these two guards. Like the outfits are terrible. Like is McNulty trying to be like a 50s, 60s detective?
Kind of looking, yeah.
Did we even get the date?
I believe it's set in the year 2247.
2247. So McNulty has not only found that really crisp hat and those cool shoes, but you've got the two guards, and the council has now requested Jack's presence. And Jack's just like, look, I'm done. I've been chasing Whistler for ages. The cult is just everywhere. And he just starts walking in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's reveling in the fact that he's managed to pull all these hubcaps. I'm guessing from the ocean. I don't know what the value of those are going to be, but whatever.
Shiny metal, I suppose. And got to give it to Art LaFleur, McNulty. He walks and follows Jack into the water and shouts to him, "Whistler's alive!" And Jack dives in and then turns around and is just like, oh, shit.
Well, we'd already had a little bit of exposition before then that we found out that Whistler is also responsible for him losing his wife or killed his wife.
Yes.
So, of course, that's enough to get him back into the station to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And we get introduced to the council. Now, there's only 2 members left of this council. The third member has already died because of some time travel shenanigans.
Yeah.
So it turns out Whistler has somehow traveled back to 1985 and is killing the ancestors of the council members so that they won't exist now. And so they need Jack Death to travel back to 1985, inhabit the body of his ancestor, and stop Whistler. They also have Whistler's body in a holding area, in a hospital bed. So the plan is to travel back and send his consciousness back into his present-day body.
Yes, because we've got to be specific there. Now, the time travel is very specific. Only your consciousness can go back in time.
So it's kind of like Assassin's Creed, not like Terminator.
Kind of like Assassin's Creed, where their consciousness has to take over the body of an ancestor in that time period, in that location as well. And Jack's just like, so you're keeping his body on ice and you want me to go back in time and tranquilize him so that his consciousness comes back? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, fuck that. And shoots Whistler's body.
You're our only hope, and it's on my terms. My God.
I was shocked. I was like, whoa, how does that work? And he's just like, well, now when we send him back, he just goes to limbo. And I've watched way too many fucking time travel movies to try to work out the shit in Trancers, dude.
Right.
Because I'm sat there and I'm like, okay, so the council explains that one of their council members has just...
Disappeared.
Vaporized. He just disappeared. All of his grandchildren, all of his children, they just...
But they all still remember them.
They all still remember them, right, as well. And technically, if Whistler's already gone back in time and completed his mission, should all the council members be dead already?
Well, no, because this is now in a fixed alternate timeline, which is branching...
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've watched way too many time travel movies that I went, okay, let's endgame this shit, shall we? Let's really work out how this time travel works. But stick with me, people, because Jack obviously is sent back in time to the consciousness of his ancestor, Phil Death, who he just takes over the body. And I absolutely love the fact that everybody else looks different except Jack. Jack looks exactly the fucking same.
His ancestor.
His ancestor
spitting double.
is the spitting double. And all he has to do is literally throw some gel in his hair and put a coat on, and he's the same fucking dude. I was just like...
Well, he finds himself with a new girlfriend as we get introduced to Helen Hunt's character, who's she's not wearing very much at all to begin with.
No.
But she straight away she's just like, there's something not quite right with you. You've woken up a different person. It doesn't make sense. But she's intrigued all the same.
I love the fact it was instantaneous as well. Like, they injected him and he woke up in that guy's body, and they explain it as well. It's kind of like Quantum Leap. If you're old enough to understand Quantum Leap, that Phil's consciousness is just literally floating.
It's in the
somewhere.
ether, right? It's in holding.
It's in holding somewhere, and that's where Jack is at the moment while his body's in. Like, I wondered if the consciousness went back to the body and just kind of stayed unconscious.
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly.
It's like in dream territory.
Yeah. But yeah, so Helen Hunt's just like, who are you? And Jack's just like, look, where's this location? Because how the fuck did they send the box back?
Yeah, that's magic. It's absolutely magic.
Like, they show him this box and go, right, okay, we're going to put a gun in there because you can't take your laser gun with you into the past. You need to take this shitty snub pistol. But we've designed the handle to hold 2 tranquilizer darts, one for you and one for Whistler. And here are these 2 photographs that we have, the only remaining evidence of our ancestors, and you need to find out what they look like, find out where they are. And Jack's in the bathroom, and this box just appears, and I'm like, whoa, if you can send the box, like the whole box back in time to the exact point, why the fuck didn't you just send Jack back? With all his shit.
Maybe they can't send organic stuff back. Maybe.
Why not just send a scanner back to find Whistler's body biosignatures?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jack and Lena, Helen Hunt's character, are driving around looking for these people, but Lena has to go to work, and I laughed because this is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Because she turns up and she's a Christmas elf working for Santa and his wife. And Jack, with his innate ability that he's brought back with him from the future, realizes that Mr. Santa Claus is actually a Trancer.
Well, It's because at this point, you're like, Helen Hunt is trying to get away from him because she's realised that he's a bit of a psycho. Well, he's definitely not the person she went to bed with the night before.
It turns out it's just a one-night stand. They were talking in the car that it was just a one-night stand.
Exactly. And so she's just doing whatever she can to get away from him now. Yeah. But considering he's like a fish out of water, you know, he doesn't know the 80s. Yeah. Doesn't know what's going on. He needs to find these people, and she's kind of the only help he's going to get. So he kind of like follows her into the mall. Yeah. And straight away he realizes the Santa Claus is up to no good.
Oh my God, what are you doing? One of your friends?
It's a terrible fight sequence, I have to admit.
It is. I mean, when he pulls the beard off, and then it's like everyone started running and screaming before anything really started happening.
Those poor children. Those poor children. Like, and then the guard turns up, and the Trancer, who I have to say now, everybody in this movie is a terrible shot.
Yes.
Everybody. Maybe one person. Maybe one person's actually a good shot. But the Trancer grabs the guard and gets his gun and fires at Jack. And then Jack, shoots the Trancer, and the Trancer dies. And he grabs Lena, and he's just gone. It's kind of like if Kyle Reese was looking for John Connor and he had to take Sarah Connor with him to drive around. But then we obviously were introduced to Whistler, or Weisler, played by Michael Stefani. And he pretty much looks the same as well, because we'd seen like this holographic image of him in the future talking about how he's going to destroy the council. I don't honestly understand what his plan for the future is. His cult is trying to overthrow the government. Yeah. So he travels back in time to kill the government in the past. Yeah. But his cult are just going to do it in the future anyway.
Right. So then even if he did kill the council members, surely other people would have risen up and taken those positions instead of just leaving 3 empty chairs.
So his plan is to kill everybody in the past so he can take over the future. But he's not doing a very good job about it.
But surely he's created timelines again.
Who is he? Like, how do you make a Trancer? How did Santa Claus become a Trancer?
I believe we need to get into the sequel territory to find out that.
So Weisler comes across Santa Claus's body and just watches it magically vaporize, and he's going to question Miss Santa Claus. And you have to realize that the movie has a lot of padding.
I was going to bring up something, because he kills the Trancer, but it doesn't vaporize. Because
it doesn't vaporize until the
police body bag him, and then the body bag's laying there, and then the Whistler's looking at it, and then it vaporizes. I'm like, so... Like, some of these vaporize immediately. This one didn't vaporize until... What?
Oh, man. It gets real trippy. Because there's a lot of fucking... Like I said, there's a lot of padding around events that just really don't lead anywhere. And I love the driving sequences.
Oh, God, the driving.
With Lena and Jack. Because... Like, if you've watched film a lot, you can sometimes you can tell that behind them it's just like fake, or it's a TV.
It's just
or
the screens, it's been superimposed.
Or if it's on a wagon. And the best way to spot if it's a wagon is if the driver's just frantically going like this.
And the car's not doing anything.
And the car's not going anywhere.
It's the fact that you can tell that they're elevated as well. So you know that they're just being pulled along on a trailer.
And Lena's like frantically talking to Jack about what's going on. And Jack's like frantically explaining to her while not even looking at the...
whilst doing donuts with the wheel.
And he heads to a tanning salon to find one of the council members' ancestors. He tells Lena to stay in the car, gets out and goes in there, and Lena fucks off.
She's been waiting to get rid of him and drop his ass like straight away.
Right, which I'm like, okay, that's cool. Maybe that'll lead up to her, because she's got to come back. She's in the sequels. I'm thinking maybe she meets up with Weisler.
Right.
It'd be a confrontation.
Happens, yeah.
And Jack walks into the tanning booth and has this kind of awkward one-to-one with the ancestor who's at the booth. And the ancestor's like, yeah, man, we'll just come in the back. We'll go have a talk. And as they walk, the ancestor kicks Jack right in the face and knocks him out, revealing himself to be a Trancer. So one of the council members in the future has now perished because Helen Hunt just comes back. She has no interaction with anybody after she leaves and literally just drives back.
She just has a change of heart.
literally just drives back to the location, walks inside, and finds the Trancer dead from a possible self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Well, he's still got the gun in his hand and the blood is pooled there, so he definitely got shot in the head. And I'm under the impression that Whistler can control the Trancers, and he knows that Jack Death is here because he knows one of the Trancers has died.
Right.
And I think later on, don't they find the photo, like the photo evidence got left behind. So he got to realise that that's where Jack Death was
during the fight sequence with the Santa Claus.
I'm guessing he can telepathically tell the Trancers to kill themselves because he needs those Trancers to die, even though it's a Trancer, it's already not going to be a council member or be an ancestor, but he still needs it dead in case it gets questioned. Well, I don't know.
And while the Trancer has killed himself, he's also locked Jack into this tanning booth room. Now, when Jack was knocked out and it faded to black, when he came back, he's in this room, and I'm like, holy shit, it's a futuristic room that they've brought back.
It's a sci-fi prison.
It's a sci-fi prison room. It's going to torture Jack because he can't touch any of the sides. And then when Helen Hunt finds the zombie body on the floor, she looks and realizes there's a surfboard bent over holding one of the doors in place. And that's when I realized that actually Jack was just in one of the tanning rooms.
But the tanning booths were turned up so high that it was burning the fabric of his coat.
That's not a tanning booth, that's a tanning room.
Right, well, yeah. But it's the fact that he was still able to touch the sides without setting himself on fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets rescued by Lena and she gets him out of there. But Whistler has already caught up with them. And of course, as we know now, Whistler is in the body. One of his ancestors is a detective, or
a well-known top-of-the-line police officer.
Exactly. So he's got his police with him, and they've got Jack and Lena dead to rights. But we know that Jack came back in time with a special little gizmo that can slow time down.
This sequence was fucking amazing. Like, I was already kind of knee deep in like the time travel shit when I was thinking about like how it all worked, Days of Future Past, X-Men style. And then when he hit his watch to extend 1 second to 10 seconds, this made the sequence from Justice League look fucking shit, mate. I mean, the Flash has got nothing on Jack Death. Like, he literally can just move. And as he's grabbing, like, he dodges the bullets. And, oh my God, the bullet effects. For 1984, bullet effects. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm saying. And then he grabs Lena. Now, you might be saying to yourself, like, why, Jack, why don't you just kill Whistler right now? But he's going to explain it to us in a minute. He just did not have the time. He had to rescue Lena. He had to get her to the car. And then he had to drive away before the cops could even do it. And it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, a really cool sequence. And so now, we kind of get some downtime with our two lead characters, and so we get time to go to a Chinese restaurant and eat some food and talk about the future and talk about the 80s, and then it's time to head back into a hotel room. But Lena's just like, what, screw this. It's like it's Christmas. We're going to go and have some fun. We need to party.
Yeah,
you need to let your hair down.
Shitty toy, doesn't she?
Yeah, that Christmas, it's like a robot punching toy. And he's like, this is amazing. I've never had a toy before. Like, the future sucks.
Like, this movie's only an hour. It's only like a...
It's like 75 minutes long.
It's like, 75 minutes long. But it feels like forever.
Exactly. I mean, considering the film has such a quick pace, and there's so many scenes. Yeah, I agree. Like, I paused the film at one point because I needed to go get coffee or whatever, and I was like, I thought it would be near the end, and we were only like 35 minutes in. I was like, shit, so much has happened in that short space of time. And yeah, they end up dancing. We've got this punk rendition of Jingle Bells.
Yes, that song was amazing. And then obviously she's just like, Jack, dance with me, and he's like, I can't. I've got to keep monitoring the police van because I need to obviously make sure.
Like, I'm trying to save the future here.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't.
You want to dance to Jingle Bells?
Yeah, man. Like, but I love the fact, like, he just looks like an old dad.
Right, yeah.
Like, the grey hair, he's got this thing in his ear, like and he's just moving like a dad dances. And Lena's boyfriend comes over and he's like, God damn you, Lena, I need my shit back. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll give it to you. And he pushes Jack out of the way, and I'm like, oh, man. you don't want to mess with Jack Death. And he beats the crap out of Lena's boyfriend and just leaves him lying on the floor. And obviously this wins over Helen Hunt. She's kind of smitten by Jack. She'd been oozing to him. I mean, he just oozes machismo, really. The hair's gelled back, the coat. Like, he's fighting time-traveling zombies, people. Like, Kyle Reese ain't got shit on this guy.
That's on my terms.
And so he heads back to the apartment, and we'd already found out as well that McNulty has travelled back in time to his ancestor, who's a little girl.
Right.
But the little girl talks like McNulty, and he tells Jack, like, you've got to go back to the future with me. And Jack's like, oh, fuck you, and he kicks him out the room.
Run along before I give you a spanking. Do you understand?
Put me down! I'll bust you to zero, trooper!
And as he starts to lay down to have sex with Lena, McNulty in the kid outfit, I suppose, comes along and tranquilizes Jack. So immediately his subconscious goes back to the future.
Right.
And the two of them wake up and they start to speak to the last council member who's really quite upset.
Right.
Like one of the other council members has died and Jack's not really doing anything. He's, but I'm like, how the fuck do you know? Like, unless you've sent McNulty back to keep him under observation. But it's when Jack travels back to his body. He goes back to his body and literally they've finished having sex.
Talk about bad timing.
Yeah. So Jack's ancestors, subconscious, literally jumped back into his body and was like, whoa, what the fuck? What's been going on?
I'm having sex now.
I'm having sex.
Oh, we finished. Oh, God, I'm gone again.
And Jack's like really annoyed. Like, he tries to wake Helen Hunt up, like, come on, let's go again. She's like, no, I can't. That was like the most amazing. And he's like, oh. Like, I really started to try to not think about the biology of how all that worked. Like, if it.
So now he's his own great grandfather?
Oh shit!
But
I didn't think about that.
Well, Phil, I hope you enjoyed yourself again.
So Jack and Lena have this old baseball card, and it's a player, and he is the ancestor. And it turns out that he was a baseball player, but then he got drunk, became an alcoholic, and now he's a hobo. And Jack is going after him with Lena. But obviously Whistler's got this information as well, and they head after him. And it's a bit of like, they have a bit of a chase sequence. A bit of a you have the scooters, don't you? The scooters.
Oh God,
and then
yeah, they
fucking
steal the
shoot
bikes.
Out. Yeah, like I was just trying to remember like exactly where they went with the baseball, because they rescue him and they have this whole chase sequence on the bikes. Lena even gets shot in the arm at one point.
Don't they? They split up, don't they?
Yes.
And somehow Lena's going down this alleyway. And you see this window at the end, and somehow she manages to ramp jump through this old man's back window. This old man's just looking around like he's not swearing. He's just
Merry
super
Christmas.
confused.
That's what she
Merry
says.
Christmas, and she just walks the bike out the house.
Just out of the house.
Could you just get the door for me, please?
Door? Oh.
Merry Christmas.
And hooks back up with Jack, and they break it down for the baseball player. They're like, look, you're an ancestor of one of the council members from the future, and he's like, oh, I'm not, I'm a bum. And they're like, no, we need to give you a bath. Maybe and Lena, it brings up a good point here. Lena's just like, are you sure we should even be doing this? And Jack's just like, look, maybe this is the turning point for him. He has to get sober. He has to have children, and one of them has to grow up and do this. So maybe this is what. And I'm like, oh fuck, there's the kind of time paradox thing going on there.
Well, apparently this actor as well was very much into his role and got drunk every day on set. So much so that he needed to be helped along and needed to be reminded of where he was and what he was doing this day.
Oh my God. Like, that whole baseball sequence was just, I'm like, they're just playing, he's just the pitcher.
Right, yeah.
And the guy, the guy's there with the bat.
And they're smashing empty glass bottles, yeah.
Well, it was empty until they gave it to the pitcher, and then he downed half the bottle of water and lobbed it in him. But they shove him in the shower, and Jack rings Whistler and basically says, hey, let's put an end to this. I'll be at this location at this time. And Lena's just like, oh my God, what are you doing? And Jack's just like, look, don't worry. You played brilliantly into the plan. And then it cuts. Jack is appearing to look into a shop window while Lena is looking through binoculars, and Whistler just appears behind her.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing this was all part of the trap that they've set up.
Well, it must be, but I couldn't help and try to figure out how the fuck Whistler had worked out that it was a trap and that Lena would be there.
Right, but then it was a good job Jack Death has set up a decoy.
Yes.
Because he thinks he's seen Jack Death on the street below, but it's actually
the baseball
guy who they need to protect, who ends up getting shot at anyway. You're just like, well, this is a bad...
Luckily, Whistler is a completely terrible shot and just misses all of his shots. And Jack confronts Whistler on the rooftop. And he'd got a refill for the time watch.
Right.
So when Whistler pushes Lena off the roof, Jack is able to slow down time, jump onto a grapple line, and just grapple his way all the way down to the bottom while we intercut
to her falling.
Well, and the hobo downing in the self and vodka.
And yeah, so Jack manages to catch Lena, and this drunken bum baseball player ends up throwing his empty ball up onto the roof and hits Whistler.
Yeah.
Who falls over and then dangles off the side and falls off the building.
The drunk hobo baseball guy saved the day.
But he also then happens to land in a fountain. It's just like, oh, right, so Lena might have been safe anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, all right, we've got him now. Now we can send his consciousness back to the future.
But Jack has only gone and broken one of the vials. So there's only one of these knockout drugs left. And he can either use it on Whistler and send his spirit to oblivion, gaining redemption for his wife and stopping the complete cult. Like, does killing Whistler in the past stop the cults in the future?
Well, no, because that's already happened.
Happening? Like,
yeah.
Okay, if killing him in the past, does that stop the council members from dying? Because
does it create an alternate future timeline?
Because Jack injects Whistler with it, and his consciousness goes off into oblivion. You kind of hear it screaming like, no! Because Whistler is an innocent man. He hasn't done anything. It was all Whistler, really. He hasn't killed anybody. So Jack decides he's in love with Lena. He's going to start a new life, so he's going to stay in the past. Now, if Jack's staying in the past, and Whistler, who is the ancestor to Whistler, is still alive, doesn't that just mean Whistler is going to be born in the future again at some point and do this all over again?
Yes. But at least it's all kind of the paradox. At least, does it work?
I don't know, man. I gave up on Endgame. Time travel is such fucking bullshit. I just go, yeah, you can time travel? Yeah, we could be time traveling now and changing the end of this movie. We wouldn't even know if he sets anything. But Jack, deciding to stay in the past with Lena, has also got McNulty to watch over him.
Yes, yeah, because that's the last shot, isn't it? As we see the girl moving up towards the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course it's left wide open for multiple sequels, which maybe we'll get to soon. Well, Iain, what were your favourite or memorable scenes in the film?
Oh man, just like, what is there not to love in this fucking movie? Any of the sequences with Tim Thomerson in, he is just the best actor to play Jack Death. I don't know anybody, maybe everybody, could have played Jack Death, but the look, the slick back hair, if he's got the scar or not, he's ripping off Kyle Reese so badly. It's like Kyle Reese's dad has gone back in time to find him and find out why the future is still so shit. The 10-second time stop moments. I'm telling you, I sat there and I was thinking about the Justice League, Snyder cut or Whedon cut, it doesn't matter. And just the way that his arms go. And I'm looking at Jack Death like, he doesn't need to do that. He just runs normally. The fight sequences against the Trancers. I don't know what a Trancer is. I don't know how somebody becomes a Trancer. The fight sequences are so terrible, but you have to watch them because you sit there going, man, That was terrible. The sex sequence, or lack of, just how they turned it into a big joke, and it just really worked. Helen Hunt, I absolutely love Helen Hunt as an actress. She plays the innocent one really, really quite easily. I don't think I've ever seen her as an evil character. And this wasn't her first role. This is her second role. She'd already done something before this.
This is her first major role.
This was major role. And then she'd go off to do other things. But there's the fact that the lady come back. She doesn't have to, but she makes this Lena character, work so well that without her, Jack doesn't really do much. But with her, Jack just seems like... He seems like a cool dude. I'm not totally sure if he is, but hey, I'm mad, me. What about you?
Yeah, there's so many great and memorable sequences in the film. I love one of the early sequences when he first comes back in time and he's in the apartment.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what any of these chemicals are, or any of these potions and elixirs are, and he just starts putting them on his hair, and he's brushing his hair back, and he turns to her and he says, "Dry hair's for squids. Now come on, let's get the hell out of here."
Dry hair's for squids. Let's get out of here.
Seemed like kind of an okay guy last night.
I love the intro where he just says, "I'm tired now.
I'm tired.
Real tired." I love the line when the lady picks up the phone and she's like, "Security, we got trouble on the North Pole." It's just the dialogue in this film. There are so many moments when you listen to it, you're just like, that's ridiculous.
When he turns on those two people, after the shootout with the zombie, two people are just running for the exit, and Jack turns on them with the gun and goes, "Hey, don't piss me off." And two people are like, "Oh, okay." Right. And he walks off. I'm like...
Yeah, so I love the mall Santa getting transferred. The fight in the punk den rock club was great. The slow motion time. I have to say, Tim Thomerson was just absolutely nailed the role here, and there's so many great moments. Some are kind of forgettable. That's because so much happens in such a small space of time.
Yes.
Which means it makes me want to rewatch the film and see what other nuggets of comedic moments that I may have missed out on. But overall, I thought it was great. Really did. Well, Iain, did you recommend, or will you recommend, Trancers?
I have to recommend Trancers. And I know a lot of people are going to be sat there with burning fucking pitchforks and effigies of me burning, like, what are you talking about? I'm telling you, people, there's a mentality you have to have when you're watching films. And I realize as I'm getting older that back in the day when we used to go into video shops, we would read the backs of films. We didn't know that they were terrible until we'd rented them and taken them home and watched them for ourselves, and then watched other things that we started to appreciate. Like I said, this movie has snippets of Blade Runner. It has snippets of Terminator. It made me think of Justice League and X-Men Days of Future Past. I looked up Tim Thomerson. I wanted to watch Near Dark. I wanted to watch him in Iron Eagle. I needed to watch Cherry 2000 again. This film may not seem like something you want to watch, but for an hour and 10, an hour and 15 minutes, you'll find yourself just having an awesome time.
Oh, hell yeah. Which is why I'm also going to be recommending Trancers. I especially recommend this if you enjoy super low-budget sci-fi camp and cheesy humour and effects. Yeah, it's clearly inspired by Blade Runner and the Terminator, but it's also its own thing, with some hilarious character moments in a fish-out-of-water, culture shock story involving time travel. You could watch this for the wonky sets, super cheap effects, slow-moving fistfights, and endless schlock. But it's all very entertaining as this thin plot moves at a great pace with a running time of 74 minutes, helped by a fantastic cast that seemed to be having fun with the material. Tim Thomerson was truly great here. A gruff, take-no-nonsense, badass future cop that gets the job done. Tim Thomerson really carries the whole film, and the supporting cast are equally great. This is a cult classic B-movie that's really ambitious and fun. See it for the laser weapons and the Trancer zombies and the vaporizing bodies and the slow-mo shenanigans as the battle for the future has begun. Jack Death is back, and he's never even been here before. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Could you just get the door for me, please?
Door? Oh.
Merry Christmas.